You walk into a crowded room where conversations overlap and laughter rises in bursts. Most people are half present, their attention split between the person in front of them and the device in their hand, or the thoughts running through their minds about what they need to do next. Then someone new arrives. They do not stride in with purpose or call out greetings to draw eyes toward them. They pause at the threshold for a single breath, taking in the space around them with quiet attention. Their posture is relaxed, yet upright, as if they belong exactly where they stand. Their eyes are soft, not scanning for validation or threat, but simply receiving what is there. As they move forward, something subtle changes in the atmosphere. Voices find a steadier rhythm. People turn their bodies slightly toward the newcomer without realizing they have done so. Even the air feels a little easier to breathe. No one has said anything remarkable, yet the room has shifted because one person brought their full presence into it. This is magnetic presence. It is not loud. It does not demand the spotlight. It does not rely on practiced lines or impressive stories. It is the rare quality that makes others feel safe enough to lower their own defenses, seen without being judged, and inspired to show up more fully themselves. You recognize it when it appears because your own nervous system responds. Your shoulders drop. Your breath deepens. You feel met. We often confuse this quality with extroversion or social dominance. We imagine the magnetic person must be the one telling the best stories, filling every silence, or projecting unshakable confidence through bold gestures. These approaches can create temporary attention, but they rarely create the deeper sense of safety and connection that true presence offers. When performance is layered over inner restlessness or self-doubt, others feel the effort. The body broadcasts one message, while the energy carries another. Over time, people sense the gap, and the connection remains shallow. Magnetic presence cannot be manufactured through technique alone, because it is not a technique. It is the natural expression of inner and outer alignment. On the inside, it begins with a cultivated stillness. This stillness is not emptiness or the absence of emotion. It is a regulated nervous system that can remain present with whatever arises, such as your own feelings, the emotions of others, the uncertainty of a moment, without immediate reactivity. You stop being pulled into every thought or triggered by every glance. Your attention becomes a steady light rather than a flickering flame. On the outside, this inner state expresses itself through body language that is open, grounded, and warm. Your posture supports you without rigidity. Your gestures arise naturally, rather than being directed by a mental checklist. Your gaze meets others with genuine interest rather than evaluation. When these two dimensions meet without contradiction, you stop trying to have presence and begin to be it. There is no performance left to maintain because your inner experience and outer expression have become one. Right now, as you listen, I invite you to experience the beginning of this alignment. Let both of your feet rest fully on the floor. Notice the solid support beneath you. Allow your spine to rise naturally from that foundation. Soften the muscles around your eyes and let your jaw release its hold. There is nothing to achieve here. Simply notice that you are breathing, that your body occupies this space, that you are here. Stay with this awareness for a few breaths. Observe whether your attention feels slightly steadier or your body slightly more at ease. This simple act of returning to yourself is the ground from which magnetic presence grows. This quality matters now more than ever, because so much of modern life pulls us away from it. Screens fragment our attention into constant micro-moments. We rehearse conversations in our heads, while the person in front of us speaks. We worry about how we appear in photos and posts, while missing the actual moment we are living. The result is a widespread, often unnamed exhaustion and a deep craving for real human connection. When someone enters a space carrying genuine presence, they offer something increasingly scarce, a moment of being fully received. In professional settings, this builds trust that accelerates collaboration and creativity. In personal relationships, it creates the safety required for vulnerability and growth. In leadership, it inspires loyalty that no title or incentive program can buy. And within yourself, it restores a sense of inner authority that no external circumstance can easily disturb. Across the 6 chapters ahead, we will move together through a clear progression. We will first explore the inner foundations of stillness, learning how to regulate your nervous system and return to presence even in challenging moments. We will then turn to the body, discovering how posture, breath, gesture, and gaze communicate far more than words ever could. You will see how these inner and outer dimensions can be woven together until they become one seamless expression. We will examine how this integrated presence transforms specific areas of life, the conversations that matter most, the moments when leadership is required, the intimate spaces where connection is everything, and the quiet relationship you hold with your own being. Each chapter builds upon the last, offering both understanding and embodied practices you can return to again and again. The goal is not information. It is transformation through lived experience. As you continue through this audiobook, I encourage you to listen with your whole self. Notice what resonates in your body as much as in your mind. When a practice is offered, try it in real moments of your day, not just while listening. Small, repeated choices create the deepest change. A single conscious breath before a difficult reply. A deliberate softening of your posture when you notice yourself bracing. A decision to give someone your full attention without planning your response. These acts may seem modest, yet they compound over time into a presence that others feel and remember. What you are stepping into is not a performance of magnetism. It is a homecoming. The quiet power we are exploring already lives within you, waiting beneath the layers of habit and distraction. As you learn to inhabit your body and attention more fully, you will notice the world responding differently. People will lean in. Conversations will deepen. You will feel a growing steadiness that no situation can easily shake. This is not because you have become someone new. It is because you have remembered how to be fully yourself in the presence of others. You are ready. Let the journey begin. Chapter 1. The Stillness Within. Cultivating your inner source of charisma. You can feel it before you can name it. 2 colleagues sit in a quiet corner of an office, discussing a project that has hit a snag. One keeps glancing at their laptop screen, fingers tapping lightly even when they are not typing. Their answers arrive fast, sometimes cutting into the other's sentences. Their shoulders stay slightly raised, as if ready to defend or deflect at any moment. The other colleague sits with their hands resting easily on the table. When the first person speaks, they turn their head fully toward them, and let the words land completely before they begin to form a reply. Their voice comes out lower, slower, with a quality of actual listening behind it. The tension in the air between them feels different. One conversation creates more friction and leaves both people slightly more defended. The other creates a little more space for something useful, perhaps even creative, to emerge. The difference is not in intelligence or knowledge, or even in how much they care about the project. It lives in the quality of stillness each one brings to the moment, or the lack of it. Stillness is the foundation we are exploring in this chapter, because everything else in magnetic presence grows from it. Yet, it is one of the most misunderstood qualities in our culture. People often think of stillness as the complete absence of thought, like a blank screen or a frozen lake with no movement at all. Or they imagine it as something that requires sitting in perfect posture for long periods, with complete mental silence. But real stillness, the kind that creates presence others can feel and trust, is quite different. It is a settled, regulated state in your nervous system. Your body is not living in a constant low-level state of preparation for the next threat or demand. There is room around your thoughts and emotions. A stimulus arrives, a sharp email, a critical comment, an unexpected change in plans, and instead of an immediate reaction rising up and taking over, there is a small gap. In that gap lives your capacity to choose how you will respond. You can still feel the surge of irritation or anxiety or urgency moving through you, but it does not have to become your whole reality or dictate your next action. This is not about suppressing what you feel. It is about spacious awareness. The thoughts and feelings are still there, like weather moving across a wide sky. The sky itself remains steady, holding everything, without being disturbed by any single cloud. This is the stillness we are cultivating. It is alive, it is responsive, and it changes everything about how you move through your days and how others experience you. You can begin to feel this spaciousness right now, even as you listen to these words. Wherever you are, take a comfortable breath in through your nose. Then, when you exhale, allow the breath to leave your body more slowly than the inhale arrived. Let it take its time, as if you are gently sighing out what you no longer need to hold. As the exhale ends, there is often a natural, quiet pause before the next inhale begins. In that brief pause, simply notice what is present. You might feel a slight quieting in your chest or shoulders. You might notice the awareness that you are here, breathing, in this moment. You do not need to make the pause longer or force anything to happen. Simply notice it. This longer exhale and the awareness in the pause between breaths is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to signal to your nervous system that it can stand down from constant readiness. Your body knows how to do this. We are simply giving it permission and a little practice. We will come back to breath many times in our journey together because it is always available, always with you, and it directly influences the state of your inner world in ways you can feel within seconds. When this quality of stillness is present, even in small degrees, it changes the impact you have on others in ways that no performance or technique can replicate on its own. Because your nervous system is more regulated, the unconscious tension that usually lives in your face, your shoulders, your hands, and even in the small muscles around your eyes begins to soften. The tiny movements and micro-expressions that signal anxiety, distraction, or inner conflict to other people's nervous systems become less frequent and less intense. People around you feel safer in your presence without knowing exactly why. Their own systems begin to relax a little when they are with you. Authenticity rises because you are not spending large amounts of energy managing an internal storm while trying to appear calm or competent on the outside. What you say and how you say it comes from a more genuine, less defended place. Others do not have to work as hard to trust you because there is less hidden agenda or internal conflict leaking through your words and energy. A quiet confidence appears, not the loud kind that needs to prove itself or dominate the room, but the grounded kind that trusts it can be with whatever is happening without needing to control it. And from that steadiness, genuine warmth becomes available. You have the inner resources to actually be interested in the person in front of you, instead of being preoccupied with your own internal state or the next thing you need to do. This is why stillness is not just one ingredient among many in magnetic presence. It is the root from which everything else grows. Without it, even the most polished outer techniques eventually feel hollow or inconsistent because they are built on unsettled ground. Modern life works against this root in systematic and often invisible ways. From the moment many of us wake up, our attention is pulled in multiple directions before we have even fully arrived in the day. We reach for our phones before our feet touch the floor, scanning messages and news that set the tone for our nervous system. We listen to a podcast or music while making breakfast, while also planning the day's tasks in our heads. At work, we move between tabs, conversations, emails, and deadlines with almost no transition time, training our attention to be fragmented. In the evening, we scroll through feeds to unwind, which often leaves the nervous system more activated than when we began because of the constant novelty and comparison. Between all of this activity, our minds ruminate. We replay a conversation from the morning, turning it over and over. We worry about something that might happen next week. We compare our behind-the-scenes reality to the highlights we see of other people's lives. Each of these patterns trains the body to stay in a state of mild, chronic alertness. The cost shows up in how we show up for others and for ourselves. We become quicker to react and slower to truly receive what is being offered in a conversation. We miss the subtle shifts in someone's tone or expression because part of our attention is always elsewhere. Over time, the very connections we most long for become harder to create and sustain because the inner stillness required for real presence has been eroded by constant motion, stimulation, and mental noise. The path back to stillness is not through adding more practices or finding more time. It is through returning to what is already here in small, consistent, and kind ways throughout your ordinary day. Breath remains the most direct and reliable doorway. We practiced one version a moment ago with the longer exhale. Another simple and effective pattern you can use when you notice tension rising is the physiological sigh. Take 2 quick inhales through the nose, almost like you are double sniffing. Then release 1 long, slow exhale through the mouth. This pattern helps discharge some of the accumulated tension in the nervous system and tells your body it is safe to downregulate. It takes less than 10 seconds and can be done in a meeting, in traffic, before a difficult conversation, or even while standing in line. No one needs to know you are doing it. Your body will feel the difference. Body-based awareness offers another accessible way in. Instead of trying to quiet your mind directly, which can sometimes create more tension, you gently bring attention to the physical sensations that are always present in the now. The feeling of your feet making contact with the floor, the weight of your body supported by the chair, the temperature of the air against your skin, the subtle movement of your chest as you breathe. These sensations do not require you to believe anything or achieve any particular state. They simply anchor you in the present moment where stillness actually lives. When you notice them, even for a few seconds, the momentum of rumination or future planning is interrupted. You return to here. Micropauses are perhaps the most practical and immediately useful tool for daily life. Before you answer a question that carries some emotional charge, before you type and send a reply to a message that irritated or upset you, before you walk into a room where tension might be waiting, you give yourself the gift of one conscious breath or even 3 seconds of silence. That small gap interrupts the automatic reaction and returns a measure of choice to you. Over time, these micropauses change the entire texture of your interactions and your inner experience. They are small acts of freedom. Single-tasking acts as a powerful training ground for the mind and nervous system. In a culture that glorifies doing many things at once, choosing to do one thing at a time can feel almost radical at first. When you drink your morning coffee or tea, you drink your morning coffee or tea. When you walk from one room to another, you simply walk. When you listen to someone speak, you listen without simultaneously planning your reply or glancing at your phone. Each time you do this, you strengthen the muscle of bringing your full attention to what is right in front of you. The mind learns that it does not always have to be managing multiple streams at once. You might experiment with this today or tomorrow. Choose one ordinary activity you usually do while your mind is somewhere else. Making a cup of tea, brushing your teeth, walking to get the mail, or even washing your hands. For the next 3 minutes, do only that activity. Notice the sensations in your hands, the sounds, the movements, the temperature. When your mind wanders to a thought or a plan, gently and without judgment, bring your attention back to what your hands or body are doing. This is not about doing it perfectly. It is about training the capacity to be here fully, even for a short time. You may be surprised by how different even a simple task feels when it is done with this quality of attention. As you begin to practice these returns to stillness, certain changes tend to appear fairly quickly, often within days or weeks rather than months. You may notice that your emotional responses have a little more space around them. Something that would have triggered a sharp reply, a defensive tone, or a wave of worry now has room for you to feel it without being completely swept away by it. You still feel what you feel, but you have more choice in how you express it or whether you need to express it at all. Clearer thinking follows naturally because the mind is not constantly sifting through background noise, unfinished mental loops, and constant stimulation. Insights and solutions have more space to arise on their own. A natural gravitas begins to show itself without any effort to create it. People start to listen more attentively when you speak, not because you raised your voice or used particular words, but because there is a weight and clarity behind your words that comes from having actually considered what is being said. Many people find their sleep improves because their nervous system learns to downregulate at the end of the day, instead of carrying the day's activation and rumination into the night. And relationships shift in quiet but meaningful ways. When you bring more of your actual presence to the people in your life, they feel met in a way that is increasingly rare in our distracted world. They open more easily. Small conflicts resolve with less drama and more understanding. These benefits are not dramatic overnight transformations that everyone around you will immediately comment on. They are the quiet, cumulative result of tending your inner state with care and consistency. Over time, they compound into a different way of being. There is a woman named Penny who discovered this shift for herself in a very practical way. She worked in a high-pressure environment where decisions moved quickly and emotions often ran high during difficult periods. For years, she prided herself on being able to juggle multiple conversations at once, respond to crises immediately, and keep moving forward no matter what the day brought. But she also lived with a constant background feeling of being on edge. Her team respected her competence and work ethic, but many found her hard to approach. She would sometimes snap at small things and then feel guilty or drained afterward. One day, after a particularly reactive exchange that left her feeling unsettled for hours, she decided to try something different. She began her mornings with 5 minutes of simply sitting and practicing longer exhales, noticing the pauses between breaths. She started inserting one conscious breath before replying to difficult messages or before entering tense meetings. She practiced single tasking during her lunch break, leaving her phone in her bag and actually tasting her food. After about a month of these small, consistent returns, her colleagues began to comment, without her having said anything about what she was doing. One person said she seemed more approachable and less rushed. Another noticed that meetings she led felt calmer and more productive, with more space for different perspectives. A team member, who had previously been hesitant to bring concerns or bad news to her, started doing so more openly and with less anxiety. Penny herself noticed she was less exhausted at the end of most days, and that her evenings at home with her family felt more connected and less like another thing to get through. She had not changed her job responsibilities or tried to become a different personality. She had simply begun to cultivate the stillness that had been buried under years of constant motion and mental activity. That shift in her inner state changed the quality of her presence, and everything else began to reorganize around it. You do not need to wait for a perfect time or a quiet retreat, or even a full month to begin experiencing some of these shifts. The practices are designed to fit into the life you already have, right where you are. Tonight, when you are ready to sleep, try this simple closing practice. Lie on your back in whatever position feels comfortable. Place one hand gently on your lower belly. Feel the subtle rise as you inhale and the fall as you exhale. Without trying to force the breath to slow down or deepen, simply follow the movement of your hand with your attention for 10 slow cycles. If your mind wanders to something from the day or something you need to do tomorrow, notice that it has wandered and gently return your attention to the feeling of your hand and the breath moving beneath it. There is no goal to achieve except noticing. This small ritual at the close of the day can become a reliable way to release some of what no longer needs to be carried and to strengthen the muscle of stillness before sleep. Stillness is not the opposite of engagement with life or with the people you care about. It is what makes genuine, nourishing engagement possible. When your inner world is more settled and spacious, you can meet the outer world with more of yourself actually available. The reactivity that once ran so much of your day begins to lose its automatic grip. The clarity, steadiness, and warmth that were always within you have more room to be expressed naturally. And as this inner stillness becomes more familiar and more accessible, your body naturally begins to carry it outward. The way you sit and stand, the way your face softens, or your hands rest when you are with others, the pace at which you move and speak, all of these start to reflect the steadiness that lives inside. In the next chapter, we will explore precisely how that inner state finds its outward expression through the quiet, powerful language of the body. We will look at how posture, breath, gesture, and presence in movement can become congruent with the stillness you are cultivating. For now, I invite you to remember this. Every small return to your breath, every micro pause you choose to insert, every moment you give your full attention to one simple thing is an act of remembering. You are not building something new from nothing or trying to become someone you are not. You are uncovering and caring for the stillness that has always been there, waiting beneath the noise and the rush. That is the root. And from this root, everything else we will explore together can grow in its own time. Chapter 2: Body Language Unveiled. The silent signals that attract and influence. Imagine you are about to enter a room where something meaningful might unfold: a job interview, a first date, a difficult but important conversation with a colleague or loved one. Before you open the door, or before the other person even looks up, your body has already begun to speak. The way you carry your weight, the angle of your head, the openness or guardedness in your chest and arms, the pace of your movements, all of this arrives first. And the person waiting inside begins to form an impression, not primarily from what you will say, but from what your body communicates in those first moments. This silent language operates faster than words, and often carries more weight in shaping how safe, drawn in, or cautious the other person feels. Body language often speaks louder and faster than words because it operates largely below the level of conscious awareness. First impressions form in a matter of seconds, and a significant portion of what people read about us comes from postural cues, facial microexpressions, and the way we occupy space. Our nervous systems are exquisitely attuned to these signals through mechanisms like mirror neurons, which allow us to sense and even subtly reflect the emotional states conveyed by another's body. When someone's posture is open and their movements are calm and purposeful, we tend to feel a corresponding sense of ease and interest. When there is tension, withdrawal, or a mismatch between what is said and what the body shows, we register a subtle discord. This is the difference between congruence and leakage. Congruence happens when your inner state and outer expression align, creating a felt sense of authenticity that invites trust. Leakage occurs when unconscious signals betray an inner reality that contradicts our words or intended impression. Because the body is honest in ways the conscious mind sometimes is not, these leaks are often picked up by others, even when we are unaware of them ourselves. The body language that feels most magnetic tends to share several interconnected qualities that arise most naturally when inner stillness is present. An open and grounded posture forms the foundation. Rather than forcing the shoulders back or lifting the chin in a rigid way, it involves allowing the body to rest in its natural height, with a sense of support from the ground. The chest remains softly open, the arms rest comfortably at the sides or move naturally, and the weight is balanced, so you feel rooted rather than floating or braced. This posture signals availability and self-possession without aggression. In a professional team meeting, this open posture invites colleagues to share ideas more freely because it signals that their contributions are welcome and that you are not braced against them. Purposeful movement stands in contrast to fidgety or restless motion. When you shift your weight or use your hands, the movement has intention and direction rather than leaking nervous energy. In a social gathering, turning your whole body toward the person you are speaking with demonstrates that they have your full physical attention, making the interaction feel more meaningful. The quality of eye contact and facial expression is especially powerful. Soft, steady eyes that actually receive the other person, paired with warmth that reaches the eyes rather than stopping at the mouth, create connection and safety. In romantic or intimate moments, this kind of eye contact during a shared story or moment of vulnerability can communicate depth and presence that words struggle to match. The way we use space also communicates volumes. Magnetic presence tends to occupy a comfortable amount of space without shrinking or overexpanding. Shoulders not hunched inward, body oriented toward others, rather than angled away as if ready to escape. Finally, hand gestures that illustrate and give shape to ideas, rather than distract or self-soothe, help communication feel alive and clear. Open hands, with palms occasionally visible, tend to signal honesty and invitation. When explaining a vision or feeling, these gestures move energy outward and include the listener, whereas tight or repetitive self-directed gestures can pull attention back into the speaker's internal state. You may recognize some of the opposite patterns in your own body or in people you interact with, even when everyone means well. Closed posture, such as arms folded across the chest, shoulders rounded forward, body making itself smaller, often emerges from a protective instinct, whether from past experiences of criticism, current uncertainty, or simply the habit of trying to take up less space in order to be accepted. Excessive nodding or quick head movements can stem from a genuine desire to show engagement or agreement, yet they sometimes reveal an underlying anxiety about being liked or a fear of conflict. Self-touching behaviors, such as repeatedly touching the face, neck, hair, or arms, are common self-soothing actions, but they frequently leak discomfort, self-consciousness, or a lack of full presence. Incongruent expressions, where the mouth smiles, but the eyes remain tight, or the brow stays furrowed, create that subtle sense of dissonance we discussed. These signals appear not from any intention to mislead, but because the body carries patterns from earlier times when protection or approval felt necessary. Even when our words are warm and our desire to connect is sincere, the body can communicate a different story until we bring awareness to it. This is where the concept of leakage becomes especially important. Leakage refers to the small, often unconscious ways the body reveals the true inner state, even when we are consciously trying to project something else. You might tell a colleague you are open to their feedback, while your arms remain tightly crossed and your torso angled slightly away. Or on a date, you might say you are enjoying yourself, while your feet are pointed toward the exit and your hands are gripping the edge of the table. You might tell a loved one that everything is fine after a stressful day, while your body remains tense, your jaw set, and your arms crossed. The other person's nervous system registers the mismatch long before their mind does. The result is often reduced trust or a feeling that something is off, even if they cannot articulate exactly what it is. Trying to fake open or confident body language without a corresponding inner state frequently backfires, because the effort itself creates additional tension. The body then has more to manage and more to hide, which increases the likelihood of new leaks appearing. Forced postures or gestures tend to look and feel unnatural because they are not supported by the genuine steadiness we explored in Chapter 1. The most reliable path to magnetic body language is not through performance, but through congruence, allowing the outer expression to arise from and reflect an inner state of openness and regulation. When we build on the inner stillness cultivated in Chapter 1, upgrading body language becomes a process of gentle, authentic alignment rather than forced change. As the nervous system settles, the body naturally begins to release some of its habitual bracing. Shoulders soften. Breath moves more freely through the chest. The face becomes more available for real expression. From this more congruent place, small conscious adjustments feel supportive rather than like acting. You might notice your arms are crossed and simply allow them to rest more openly without forcing a particular pose. You might become aware that your gaze is darting and allow it to settle softly on the person in front of you. These adjustments, made from inner steadiness, are sustainable because they do not require constant monitoring or energy to maintain. They feel like coming more fully into yourself, rather than putting on a different self for others to see. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing the interference so that your natural warmth and steadiness can be seen. There are practical ways to develop this awareness and these gentle adjustments in everyday life. One effective approach is mirror observation. At a time when you can be alone and undisturbed, stand in front of a full-length mirror in the posture you would naturally adopt when meeting someone new or entering a conversation. Take a moment to simply see yourself without criticism. Notice the position of your shoulders, the tilt of your head, the expression in your eyes and around your mouth, the way your arms hang or cross. You might notice that one shoulder sits higher than the other, or that your weight has shifted mostly to one side. Common patterns that often go unnoticed until we look. Then, from a place of inner calm, experiment with one small shift that feels more open or grounded, perhaps allowing the shoulders to drop slightly, turning the palms to face forward a bit more, or softening the muscles around the eyes. Observe how that change affects both how you look and how you feel in your body. This practice builds familiarity with your natural patterns and helps you discover adjustments that feel congruent rather than imposed. Another practical step is real-time observation during actual interactions. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, whether professional, social, or more intimate, bring gentle awareness to one aspect of your body language. You might notice where your feet are pointing, whether your arms are open or closed, or how your hands are moving. Simply observe for a few moments, without trying to change anything. Then, if it feels natural, allow one small adjustment that brings more openness or presence, uncrossing your arms, orienting your body more fully toward the other person, or letting your hands rest quietly for a moment. Do this with kindness toward yourself. The purpose is not to critique or perfect, but to bring conscious choice into patterns that have often run on autopilot. Over repeated moments like this, Your body language begins to reflect more of the steadiness you are cultivating inside. You can also practice a quick internal body scan when you notice tension or self-consciousness arising in a social or professional situation. In that moment, take a quiet second to sense your body from the inside out. Where is there holding or shrinking? Are your shoulders rising toward your ears? Is your chest becoming concave? Are your hands gripping or fidgeting in a way that pulls energy inward? Without forcing a dramatic change, see if you can allow a small release or opening in one area, a softening of the shoulders, a slight lift through the sternum, or a resting of the hands. This can be done in seconds and often shifts both how you feel and how others experience you. It reconnects you with your body as a resource for presence, rather than something to hide or control. When body language arises from genuine inner stillness, rather than from a desire to perform or impress, it becomes far more powerful and natural. There is no longer a gap between what you feel and what you show. The signals you send are coherent, and others respond to that coherence with greater trust and openness. The warmth in your eyes is real, because the interest behind it is real. The openness in your posture is sustainable because it is supported by an inner sense of safety and steadiness. You do not have to remember a list of rules or maintain a constant performance. Your body becomes an honest extension of your settled presence, and that honesty is what draws people in and allows influence to happen without force. This is the quiet power we are cultivating together, not a new set of techniques to layer on top of an unsettled self, but a congruent expression of who you are when you are truly at home within yourself. As this alignment deepens, body language ceases to be something you do and becomes something you are. Chapter 3: The Beautiful Marriage. Integrating stillness and body language for authentic impact. There is a moment in many high-pressure situations when you can sense whether someone is performing presence or embodying it. Picture walking into a tense team meeting where decisions matter and emotions are running high. One person enters with carefully rehearsed posture, shoulders pulled back, chest lifted in a deliberate way, a practiced smile that does not quite reach the eyes. Their movements are controlled, but slightly mechanical. When they speak, the words are clear, yet the room feels as though everyone is working a little harder to stay connected. A few moments later, another person arrives. Their posture is open without effort, their weight settled evenly through both feet. Their steps are steady and unhurried. When they greet the group, their eyes are soft and present. Their shoulders rest at ease. The energy in the room shifts subtly toward greater calm, not because this person took control, but because their entire being arrived coherently. The difference is not in how much each person knows or how polished their words are. It lives in the integration or lack of integration between an inner settled state and an outer expression that flows from it. This integration creates a powerful feedback loop that transforms presence from something effortful into something natural and sustainable. When inner stillness is present, the body naturally begins to express it through more graceful, economical, and congruent movement. The unconscious tension that produces fidgeting, closed posture, or restless gestures softens on its own. Eye contact becomes steady and warm because the inner world is not braced against what might come next. Gestures arise to illustrate rather than to fill space or soothe anxiety. At the same time, When you bring conscious awareness to body language, while remaining rooted in that inner stillness, the outer adjustments deepen and stabilize the calm within. The simple act of allowing your shoulders to soften or your chest to open sends a signal back to the nervous system that it is safe to remain settled. The body becomes an active partner that reinforces the very steadiness you are cultivating inside. It is a beautiful marriage in which each element continuously nourishes the other, creating a presence that feels both authentic and quietly magnetic. Stillness plays an essential role in preventing body language from turning into performance. When you attempt to adopt open posture, steady eye contact, or purposeful gestures from a place of inner anxiety or self-doubt, the effort itself often leaks through. The body holds two messages at once, one that is being performed and one that is actually felt, and others sense the strain, even if they cannot name it. But when stillness is present, there is no need to force the outer form. The body can relax into expressions that are true to the moment and to who you are. Authentic warmth appears in the eyes because genuine interest is alive inside. Shoulders rest at ease because there is no internal bracing that needs to be hidden. Gestures flow naturally because the mind is clear and present rather than occupied with managing an impression. Stillness removes the requirement to perform, allowing the body to become a transparent and honest vehicle for the settled presence that is already there. You can begin to experience and strengthen this integration through practices that weave the inner and outer together in simple, repeatable ways. One of the most direct is to stand or sit in grounded posture, while bringing attention to your breath or inner presence. Stand with your feet roughly hip-width apart, sensing the support of the ground beneath you. Allow your spine to rise naturally from that foundation, shoulders resting softly, without forcing them back. Now, bring your awareness to your breath, noticing the gentle rise and fall, and perhaps allowing the exhale to lengthen slightly. As you breathe, notice how the grounded posture supports a deeper settling throughout the body. The posture is not something you hold rigidly. It is something you allow, while the breath and awareness do their quiet work. After a minute or two, observe how the body feels more at ease and how your attention feels steadier and more available. This combination turns posture from a static shape into a living support for inner calm, and it turns inner calm into something the body can feel and express. Another integrated practice is walking with full awareness of both your inner state and your physical carriage. Choose a short, safe path where you can walk undisturbed for a few minutes. As you walk, notice the contact of your feet with the ground and the natural, unforced swing of your arms. At the same time, bring gentle attention to your inner state, the quality of your breath, any areas of tension or ease in your chest or shoulders. If you notice the mind racing ahead or the body beginning to tighten, allow a small, natural adjustment, perhaps softening the shoulders or letting the spine lengthen slightly while continuing to walk. The movement itself becomes both a meditation and a way of embodying presence in motion. Over time, this practice trains you to carry stillness into everyday activity so that even in busy environments, your body and inner state remain aligned rather than pulled in different directions. A third useful integration is a simple reset sequence that combines inner regulation with outer adjustment, especially helpful in moments when pressure rises quickly. When you notice tension building, perhaps before entering a room, during a difficult conversation, or before you are about to speak. Take 2 quick inhales through the nose, followed by 1 long, slow exhale through the mouth. As the exhale finishes, allow your shoulders to drop and your chest to soften into a more open position. This sequence works on both levels at once. The sigh helps regulate the nervous system from within, while the posture adjustment signals and reinforces that regulation outwardly. It takes only a few seconds and can be done without drawing attention. The power comes from doing it with awareness, rather than from a place of forcing yourself to appear confident. The inner and outer moves support each other, creating a rapid return to coherence. The difference between someone who has only learned body language techniques and someone who has integrated stillness and movement becomes clear in how sustainable and believable their presence feels over time. The person relying primarily on techniques often appears polished in calm moments, but may struggle to maintain coherence when real pressure arrives. Their body language can feel slightly disconnected from their actual energy, leading to subtle leakage or a sense that something is being performed. In contrast, the person who has integrated both elements carries a presence that remains coherent even in challenging situations. Their body language is not something they switch on for effect. It is a natural extension of an inner steadiness that has been cultivated and trusted. Others respond with greater trust and openness because the presence does not require constant effort to sustain. This integration creates what we might call quiet command, a natural authority and warmth that does not need to announce or defend itself. Consider how this integration shows up in high-pressure moments. When entering a room where important people are already gathered and tension is palpable, the integrated person does not rehearse their posture or force a smile in the hallway. They take a quiet moment to settle their breath and ground their body, then walk in with natural openness. The room responds to that coherence with less defensiveness and more receptivity. In a difficult conversation with a colleague or loved one, instead of bracing with crossed arms, while trying to appear calm, they notice the impulse to close and gently allow more openness, while staying connected to their inner steadiness. Their words and body work together, reducing the other person's need to defend and allowing the conversation to move toward resolution rather than escalation. In public speaking or presenting, the integrated speaker does not rely on memorized gestures or a rigid stance at the front of the room. They stand grounded, breathe into the space, and allow their body to support the message naturally. The audience feels the authenticity and is more likely to be moved by both the content and the presence delivering it. In each case, what emerges is quiet command rather than forced confidence. Even with sincere intention, the process of integration can encounter common pitfalls. One is trying too hard, pushing for perfect posture or constant awareness in a way that creates new layers of tension and self-monitoring. Another is attempting to force inner stillness, while the body remains tense and closed. The inner work and outer expression remain disconnected, and the feedback loop never fully engages. A third is using body language adjustments to mask inner anxiety rather than addressing it, which often increases leakage over time because the body is being asked to lie. The gentle way to work with these moments is through kind awareness rather than harsh correction. When you notice yourself trying too hard, pause and return simply to the feeling of your feet on the ground or the movement of your breath. When you sense the body is tense, while you are trying to be still inside, allow one small physical release alongside the inner attention. When you catch yourself using posture to hide anxiety, acknowledge the anxiety gently and bring breath to it, without demanding it disappear. These are not failures of integration. They are invitations to bring more honesty and less force to the marriage between inner and outer. When stillness and body language become one, presence stops being something you do and becomes something you naturally are. There is no longer a separation between who you are on the inside and how you show up on the outside. The feedback loop runs smoothly in both directions, each element strengthening the other without constant effort. You move through rooms, conversations, and challenges with a coherence that others feel as safety, warmth, and quiet strength. This is the authentic impact we have been building toward, not a performance that eventually exhausts you, or a technique that can eventually be seen through, but a way of being that is sustainable, magnetic, and true to who you are. As you continue to practice this integration in small, ordinary moments, it begins to live in you as your default state. And from that state, the impact you have on others and on your own life flows naturally, without you needing to push, pretend, or remember what to do next. Chapter 4: Presence in Action, Stillness and Body Language in Conversations, Leadership, and Connection. You sit across from a colleague who has just shared something vulnerable about a project that went wrong. In the past, your mind might have already begun crafting a response or a solution before they finished speaking. Your body might have leaned back slightly or crossed your arms without you noticing. But today something is different. You feel the steadiness inside that you have been cultivating. Your breath moves evenly. Your shoulders rest softly. Your eyes stay gently on theirs, receiving rather than scanning for what comes next. When they finish, you let a small pause live between their last words and your first. Your hands rest open on the table. The words that eventually come feel like they arise from actually having heard them. The other person relaxes visibly. The conversation deepens, instead of staying on the surface. This is presence in action, the integration of inner stillness and congruent body language, turning an ordinary exchange into something that builds trust and connection. Deep listening becomes a magnetic act when stillness and body language work together. Inner stillness creates the space inside you to remain fully present with what is being said, rather than racing ahead to your own thoughts or defenses. You are not preparing your reply while the other person is still speaking. You are simply here, receiving. At the same time, open body language communicates without words that the person in front of you matters. Soft eye contact that actually sees them, a slight forward lean from a grounded posture, arms resting uncrossed, and a face that remains available rather than tightening. All say, "I am with you right now." The combination is powerful because the inner steadiness prevents the body from sending mixed signals. When your nervous system is regulated, your body naturally expresses interest and safety. The other person feels met, and that felt sense of being received is what makes interactions magnetic and memorable. You might try this before your next important conversation. Take 2 quiet minutes in a private space. Stand or sit with the grounded posture you have practiced, feet connected to the floor, spine rising naturally, shoulders soft. Bring your attention to your breath for a minute, allowing the exhale to lengthen slightly. Then, do a gentle body scan. Notice any areas that feel closed or braced and allow them to soften. Finish by bringing a quiet intention to be present with the person you are about to meet. This ritual does not take long, yet it shifts both your inner state and your outer readiness. When you enter the conversation, you begin from a place of coherence rather than reactivity or scattered attention. Building rapport and trust happens through subtle, congruent nonverbal signals that arise from an internally grounded place. When your inner stillness is present, you do not need to consciously mirror the other person's posture or force enthusiastic expressions. Instead, small natural alignments occur. You might find yourself orienting your body more fully toward them, softening your face in response to their tone, or allowing your hands to rest openly when they share something meaningful. These signals feel authentic because they are. They are not techniques layered on top of anxiety. They are the body's natural response to being regulated and present. The other person's nervous system registers safety and connection without either of you needing to name it. Trust builds not through what you say about wanting to connect, but through the consistent experience of being received in both body and attention. High-stakes or difficult conversations test this integration most clearly. When tension rises, the old pattern is often to either brace physically, such as crossing arms, tightening jaw, leaning away, or to push forward with words, while the body leaks defensiveness. Integrated presence offers another path. You stay connected to your inner steadiness, so reactivity does not take over. You notice the impulse to close or interrupt and allow a small pause instead. Your body language supports de-escalation. Visible palms when you speak, soft eye contact that does not harden into a stare, grounded posture that keeps you rooted rather than rising into fight or flight. These signals communicate safety, even when the topic is challenging. The other person is less likely to become defensive because your presence is not adding more pressure. The conversation can move toward understanding rather than escalation. You do not need to agree with everything being said. You simply remain present and congruent, which often creates more room for resolution than any argument could. You might experiment with this in your next challenging interaction. Before responding to something that triggers you, take one conscious breath and allow your shoulders to drop if they have risen. Keep your hands visible and open rather than hidden or clenched. Maintain soft eye contact while you listen fully before speaking. These small choices, made from inner steadiness, change the entire texture of the exchange. They are not about winning or controlling the outcome. They are about staying present and safe to be with, which often invites the same from the other person. In leadership and group settings, calm, open body language, combined with inner steadiness, naturally draws attention and respect without any need to dominate. When you enter a meeting or stand to speak, a grounded posture and steady presence communicate quiet authority. People look toward you, not because you raised your voice or took up more space, but because your body and energy signal that you are fully here and available. In group discussions, your stillness allows you to listen without needing to fill every silence. When you do speak, your words carry more weight because they come from actual presence rather than from a need to be heard. Your body language, open hands when inviting input, soft eyes when someone shares a concern, a posture that remains steady even when disagreement arises. models the very presence you want others to bring. The group feels safer and more focused. Respect arises naturally because people sense that you are not performing leadership, you are embodying it. Consider a social gathering where you know only a few people. Instead of scanning the room anxiously or positioning yourself to look engaged, you arrive with the inner steadiness you have cultivated. Your posture is open, your movements unhurried. When you join a small circle, you orient your body toward the group and listen before adding your voice. The people around you feel the difference. Conversations become more genuine because your presence invites others to drop their own social armor. In romantic or close relationships, this same grounded, attuned presence is deeply attractive. Anxious or performative energy, like fidgeting, closed posture, eyes that dart or glaze over, while the mind plans the next compliment, creates subtle tension even when words are warm. In contrast, a settled body and steady attention communicate safety and genuine interest. The other person can relax into being themselves. Connection deepens because there is no performance to maintain on either side. The magnetic quality here is not about charm or perfect words. It is about the felt experience of being fully met by someone who is fully present. A simple pre-interaction ritual can dramatically improve outcomes in any of these contexts. Before a meeting, a date, a difficult conversation, or even a social event, take 2 minutes. Find a private spot if possible. Stand with grounded posture, feet connected, spine rising naturally, shoulders soft. Do a short breath practice. 2 quick inhales through the nose and 1 long exhale through the mouth. As you exhale, allow your chest and shoulders to open slightly. Then, set a quiet intention. I am here. I am present. I can handle whatever arises. This ritual regulates your nervous system and aligns your body with that regulation. You enter the interaction already coherent, rather than catching up to yourself in the first few minutes. The difference in how you show up and how others respond is often immediate and noticeable. As you practice these ways of bringing stillness and body language into real interactions, the skills become more natural with time. What once required conscious attention begins to happen more automatically. You notice your body closing and soften it without drama. You feel reactivity rising and insert a small pause without effort. Deep listening and congruent presence become less like techniques and more like your default way of being with others. Everyday conversations, meetings, leadership moments, and close relationships start to carry a different quality, more ease, more trust, more genuine connection. You do not need to transform every interaction overnight. Small, consistent choices in ordinary moments compound. Over weeks and months, presence stops being something you remember to bring and becomes something you naturally live. The impact on your relationships, your work, and your own sense of ease in the world grows quietly but powerfully from there. Chapter 5: Clearing the Path. Overcoming anxiety, distraction, and incongruence. You walk into a room where several people are already gathered. Your heart beats a little faster than usual. Your mind offers a quick inventory of how you might appear. Too quiet, too eager, not interesting enough. Without realizing it, your shoulders begin to round forward and your gaze drops slightly. You smile more than feels natural, nodding even when you are still forming your thoughts. Later, you leave, wondering why the interactions felt thin and why you felt more drained than connected. This experience is far more common than most people admit. The obstacles that sabotage magnetic presence are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are understandable responses to the pressures of modern life. Anxiety about how we are seen, constant digital stimulation that fragments our attention, and old patterns of trying to manage impressions rather than simply being present. Clearing these obstacles does not require becoming someone new. It asks for compassionate awareness and the gentle application of the stillness and body language you have already been cultivating. Social anxiety and self-consciousness often begin in the nervous system long before any words are spoken. The body interprets the situation as a potential threat to belonging or acceptance. Heart rate rises, breath becomes shallower, and muscles tighten in preparation for evaluation or rejection. These changes show up outwardly as shrinking posture, fidgeting hands, or a face that tries too hard to appear friendly. The more you notice these signals, the more the spiral can intensify because self-consciousness feeds on itself. Stillness practices offer a direct way to interrupt this loop. A quick physiological reset, such as 2 short inhales through the nose, followed by a long exhale through the mouth, signals to the nervous system that it can stand down. When combined with a gentle body language adjustment, such as allowing the shoulders to soften and the chest to open slightly, the reset works on both levels at once. The inner state becomes less reactive, while the outer expression becomes more congruent and open. You do not need to eliminate the nervousness entirely. You simply create enough space to choose how you will show up, rather than letting the spiral run the interaction. You might try this the next time you feel self-consciousness rising before or during a social situation. Pause for 10 seconds if you can. Take 2 quick inhales through the nose and 1 long exhale through the mouth. As you exhale, notice where your body has begun to close or shrink and allow 1 small opening, perhaps the shoulders dropping or the spine lengthening gently. Then bring your attention back to the present moment by feeling your feet on the ground. This sequence takes almost no time, yet interrupts the automatic tightening that feeds anxiety. Over repeated uses, the body learns that these moments do not require full defensive bracing. The spiral loses momentum, and you have more access to the grounded presence you have been developing. Digital overload and fragmented attention create their own quiet sabotage of presence. Hours spent looking down at screens train the body into forward head posture and rounded shoulders. The nervous system stays in a state of mild alertness from constant notifications and context switching. Even when you put the phone away, attention residue remains. Part of your mind is still processing the last scroll or message. In conversations, this shows up as eyes that glaze or dart, a body that feels slightly absent, and an inner restlessness that makes deep listening difficult. The posture itself reinforces the disconnection because a collapsed chest and forward head make it harder for the breath to move fully and for the nervous system to settle. Reclaiming embodied awareness requires small, repeated acts of returning to the body. After any stretch of screen time, a simple posture reset, such as standing or sitting tall for a few breaths, while softening the shoulders and lifting the gaze, helps release the physical pattern. Pairing this with a moment of noticing your feet or the contact of your body with the chair brings attention back into the present rather than leaving it scattered across multiple tabs and conversations. You might practice a micro reset the next time you finish using your phone or computer before moving into an interaction. Stand or sit with awareness of your posture. Gently draw the head back so the ears align more over the shoulders and allow the chest to soften open. Take 3 slow breaths, feeling the support beneath you. This does not need to be dramatic. It simply interrupts the forward collapse and fragmented state, so you arrive in the next moment with more of yourself available. Over time, these micro practices retrain both the body and the attention, making it easier to bring full presence into conversations instead of carrying digital residue with you. Incongruence and the habit of trying too hard create leakage that undermines magnetic presence, even when intentions are good. You may want to appear confident and warm, so you adopt an open posture or steady eye contact, yet inside, the nervous system remains braced or the mind is busy managing how you are coming across. The body leaks the conflict through small signals, a smile that does not reach the eyes, shoulders that stay slightly raised despite the relaxed stance, or gestures that feel slightly mechanical. Others sense the mismatch without necessarily knowing why, and trust or connection suffers. Returning to stillness helps, because it addresses the root rather than just the outer performance. When you pause and reconnect with your breath or the ground beneath you, the inner state begins to settle. From that more coherent place, authentic expression can emerge without so much effort. You do not have to manufacture warmth or confidence. You simply allow the body to express the steadiness that is becoming more available inside. The leakage decreases because there is less conflict between what you feel and what you show. Self-sabotage patterns, such as shrinking, over-apologizing, or excessive smiling and nodding, often develop as protective strategies. Shrinking makes you take up less space, so you are less likely to be noticed or criticized. Over-apologizing tries to smooth over any potential discomfort before it arises. Excessive smiling or nodding can be an attempt to signal friendliness or agreement, so others will approve. These patterns are understandable responses to environments where belonging felt uncertain. However, they become obstacles when they run automatically, even in situations where they are no longer needed. Meeting them with awareness rather than judgment is the first step toward change. When you notice yourself shrinking in a group, you can acknowledge the old protective impulse with kindness, and then gently allow a small expansion, perhaps uncrossing your arms or lifting your gaze. When you hear yourself over-apologizing, you can pause and offer a simpler, more grounded response instead. The goal is not to eliminate these habits overnight, but to bring choice into patterns that have often operated without it. You might try this gentle awareness practice during your next interaction, where you notice a self-sabotage pattern arising. Without judging yourself, simply name it inwardly. I am shrinking, or I am nodding too much. Then allow one small, kind adjustment, perhaps bringing your shoulders back to a more neutral position or letting your hands rest quietly instead of fidgeting. Follow the adjustment with a breath. This sequence interrupts the automatic pattern while treating yourself with the compassion these old strategies actually deserve. Over time, the patterns lose their automatic grip because they are met with awareness instead of being reinforced by self-criticism. Building resilience comes through small, repeated exposures, supported by the practices you have already learned. Rather than avoiding situations that trigger anxiety or distraction, you can approach them with the tools of stillness and congruent body language as companions. Each time you use a physiological reset before entering a room, or soften your posture during a conversation, or return to your breath when attention fragments, you are teaching your nervous system that these moments are manageable. The exposures do not need to be dramatic. A brief interaction at a gathering, a short meeting where you practice deep listening, or a conversation where you allow one small pause before responding, all count. What matters is the consistent pairing of challenge with supportive practice. Over weeks and months, the nervous system becomes more resilient because it has experienced again and again that presence is possible even when discomfort is present. These obstacles are not personal failings or evidence that you lack something essential. They are understandable responses to a culture that rewards constant performance, rewards fragmented attention, and often makes genuine belonging feel conditional. The forward head from screens, the shrinking from old fears of not being enough, the trying too hard that creates leakage, all of these developed as ways to navigate environments that did not always feel safe or supportive. When you meet them with compassion instead of criticism, they become workable. The same nervous system that tightens can learn to soften. The same attention that scatters can learn to return. The same body that has learned to shrink or perform can learn to stand grounded and open. This is not about fixing yourself. It is about gently retraining patterns that no longer serve the presence you want to bring into your life. Obstacles become teachers when you approach them this way. Each time social anxiety rises and you use a reset instead of spiraling, you learn that your nervous system can be worked with rather than fought. Each time digital distraction pulls you away and you reclaim your posture and attention, you strengthen the muscle of embodied presence. Each time incongruence appears and you return to stillness instead of pushing harder, you discover that authentic expression is more sustainable and magnetic than any performance. Progress is always available through consistent, kind practice, because the practices themselves are simple and repeatable. You do not need perfect conditions or long stretches of uninterrupted time. You need only the willingness to notice when an obstacle has taken the wheel and to gently bring stillness and congruent body language back into the driver's seat. Over time, these small returns accumulate into a different way of moving through conversations, meetings, gatherings, and close relationships. The path clears, not because the obstacles disappear, but because you become more skilled and compassionate at working with them. And in that process, magnetic presence stops being something you strive for and becomes something you naturally return to again and again. Chapter 6: The Embodied Life: Daily Practices for Unshakable Magnetic Presence. The practices you have explored across these chapters are not meant to remain as isolated exercises. They are seeds for a way of living in which stillness and congruent body language become the ground from which you move through every part of your day. When presence is woven into the ordinary rhythms of morning, work, interactions, and evening, it stops feeling like something you have to remember and begins to feel like who you are. This chapter offers a sustainable rhythm that integrates everything into daily and weekly life, so the magnetic quality you have been cultivating becomes unshakable, not because you perform it perfectly, but because you return to it consistently with kindness. A morning embodiment ritual sets the tone for the entire day by combining stillness with intentional posture and a quiet presence intention. Upon waking, before reaching for your phone or stepping into the rush of thoughts about what lies ahead, take 5 to 10 minutes. Stand or sit with your feet connected to the floor or ground. Allow your spine to rise naturally and your shoulders to rest softly. Bring your attention to your breath for a minute or two, using the longer exhale or physiological sigh to settle your nervous system. Then, from this grounded place, place one hand on your heart or belly and ask yourself a simple question. How do I want to carry presence today? The answer does not need to be elaborate. It might be as simple as, with steadiness in meetings, or with warmth toward my family, or simply, by returning to my breath when I feel scattered. This ritual does more than calm you. It aligns your body and attention from the first moments of the day, so you begin already rooted, rather than catching up to yourself later. Over time, this morning practice becomes a reliable anchor that makes the rest of the day's micro-practices easier to remember and more effective. Throughout the day, micro-practices keep presence alive without requiring long blocks of time. Before entering a room or beginning a conversation, take one conscious breath and allow your posture to settle into grounded openness. This strategic pause interrupts the momentum of rushing or bracing and lets you arrive with more of yourself available. Between tasks or after using your phone, do a quick posture and breath reset. Stand or sit tall for 3 breaths, soften the shoulders, and notice the contact of your body with the surface beneath you. This clears a tension residue and prevents the forward collapse and scattered state that screens often create. Single tasking serves as ongoing presence training. When you drink your tea, drink your tea. When you walk down the hall, simply walk. When you listen to someone, listen without planning your reply. Each of these small choices strengthens the muscle of bringing your full attention and congruent body language to whatever is right in front of you. They do not take extra time. They simply change how you inhabit the time you already have. You might experiment with weaving one of these micro-practices into your next transition today. Before you walk into your next meeting or conversation, pause for a single breath and soften your shoulders. After you finish scrolling or checking messages, stand and take 3 breaths while feeling your feet. Notice how even these brief returns shift both your inner state and the quality of presence you bring into the next moment. These are not dramatic interventions. They are gentle reminders that presence is always available in the spaces between the busyness. An evening review closes the day with gentle, non-judgmental reflection that reinforces learning without self-criticism. Before sleep or during a quiet moment after dinner, take 5 minutes to look back over the day. You might ask yourself 2 simple questions. Where did I notice presence flowing naturally today? And where did I feel contraction or distraction? The first question highlights moments when stillness and body language work together. Perhaps a conversation where you listened fully, a moment when your posture felt grounded, or a time when you returned to your breath before reacting. The second question brings awareness to moments of contraction without turning them into evidence of failure. You simply notice them, perhaps with a kind inner voice that says, "There was tension there. I can return to my breath next time." This review is not about scoring yourself or fixing everything. It is about building compassionate awareness, so the day's experiences become teachers rather than burdens. Over weeks, this practice reveals patterns and progress that might otherwise go unseen. Weekly deeper practices nourish the roots of presence in ways daily micro-practices cannot reach alone. 1 or 2 times each week, spend time in nature, even a short walk in a park or sitting under a tree, and bring full awareness to both your inner state and your physical movement. Let the rhythm of walking or the feeling of the ground become a moving meditation that integrates stillness and body language in motion. Another weekly practice can be gentle movement or stretching done with awareness of breath and posture, allowing the body to release accumulated tension while reinforcing grounded alignment. For those in close relationships, partner-based exercises, such as calm eye contact for a minute or two, or sitting together in shared silence, can deepen connection and train the nervous system to remain steady in the presence of another. These weekly practices do not need to be long or complicated. They simply provide regular opportunities to return to the integration you have been building, so presence remains vivid rather than fading into the background of daily demands. Tracking progress in an encouraging way helps sustain motivation without sliding into perfectionism. Instead of measuring how many days you practiced perfectly, notice the subtle signs that presence is becoming more natural. You might observe that you feel less drained after conversations, or that your body returns to open posture more quickly after stress. You might receive comments from others about your calm energy or steady presence, without having tried to create that impression. Internally, you may notice a growing sense of groundedness, a quiet confidence that you can handle whatever arises, because you are more at home in your own body and attention. Keep a simple note or mental list of these moments, rather than a rigid checklist. The goal is to celebrate the compounding evidence that the practices are working, not to judge yourself when a day feels scattered. This encouraging form of tracking keeps the journey sustainable and kind. Over months and years, these daily and weekly rhythms create a profound shift from practicing presence to living as someone who carries presence. At first, the rituals and micro-practices feel like something you do, a morning routine, a pause before speaking, an evening reflection. Gradually, the separation between practice and life dissolves. You no longer need to remember to ground your posture or return to your breath, because your body and nervous system have learned that this is simply how you move through the world. The identity level change is quiet, but powerful. You begin to see yourself as someone whose natural state includes steadiness, warmth, and congruence. This is not a performance you maintain. It is a home you return to more and more automatically. The old patterns of anxiety, distraction, or incongruence still arise at times, but they no longer define you or run the show for long. You have built the inner and outer resources to meet them with awareness and choice. The compounding effect of these small daily choices is what makes magnetic presence unshakable. A single morning ritual, a few micro pauses, one gentle evening reflection. None of these seem dramatic on their own. Yet, when they are repeated with kindness over weeks and months, they reshape your nervous system, your posture, your way of listening, and your sense of who you are. You move through rooms, conversations, leadership moments, and close relationships with a coherence that others feel as safety and inspiration. You do not need to force anything or prove your presence. You simply carry it because it has become part of your embodied life. This is the quiet, powerful way of moving through the world that you have been building toward. It is available to you, not in some distant future of perfect practice, but in the next breath, the next step, the next small return to stillness and open body language. Begin where you are. The path is already beneath your feet. Conclusion. You have traveled a quiet but profound path through these chapters. What began as an exploration of stillness and body language has revealed something deeper. Magnetic presence is not a technique you apply when you remember to. It is a state you cultivate and then naturally express. It arises when the settled quality of your inner world meets the open, congruent language of your body. When these two meet without contradiction, you stop performing and begin simply being grounded, warm, and available in a way that draws others towards safety and connection without any force or display. This presence you are growing does not stay contained within you. It ripples outward in ways both subtle and significant. When you enter a room with steadier breath and softer shoulders, colleagues feel less pressure and more permission to speak honestly. When you listen to a family member with full attention and open posture, they feel seen in a way that strengthens the bond between you. Even with strangers, in a cafe, on a street, in a brief exchange, your regulated nervous system and congruent body language create small moments of ease that accumulate. You are not trying to change the world. You are simply carrying a different quality of being into it, and that quality quietly influences everyone it touches. In a time when so many people feel scattered, anxious, and disconnected, your growing presence becomes a quiet contribution to a calmer, more connected world. The invitation now is simple and practical. Choose one or two practices from each major area we have explored and begin weaving them into your life today. From the stillness work, perhaps commit to a daily longer exhale breath practice and one micropause before important conversations. From body language awareness, choose to notice and gently soften your posture several times each day, especially after screen time or when you feel yourself bracing. From the integration practices, use the reset sequence of a physiological sigh paired with an open posture adjustment whenever tension rises. From the daily rhythm, begin a short morning embodiment ritual and a gentle evening review that celebrates moments of presence without judgment. Small, consistent steps matter far more than perfection. You do not need to do everything at once. You need only to begin and to return when you drift, with the same kindness you would offer a good friend. Imagine yourself 3 to 6 months from now. You walk into a meeting or a gathering or a difficult conversation. Your body feels rooted and open without effort. Your breath moves steadily. When someone speaks, you receive their words fully before responding. Your eyes are soft, your gestures natural, your presence coherent. You do not need to think about what to do. You simply are steady, warm, and quietly magnetic. The situations that once triggered anxiety or scattered attention now feel manageable because you carry an inner steadiness that your body expresses without contradiction. This version of you is not a distant ideal. It is the natural result of the small, repeated choices you are invited to make, starting today. As you listen to these final words, I invite you to take one gentle breath. Feel the support beneath you. Allow your shoulders to rest a little more softly. Notice the quiet sense of completion that comes from having traveled this far, and the quiet excitement that comes from knowing the journey continues in the most ordinary and beautiful way. Through the next breath, the next conversation, the next moment you choose to return to yourself. You have everything you need. The stillness is already within you. The body is ready to express it. Magnetic presence is not something you chase. It is something you remember how to live. Thank you for walking this path with such sincerity. May your presence continue to grow. May it touch everyone it meets with greater safety and warmth. And may you feel, more and more each day, the quiet power of simply being fully here. The world needs what you are becoming. Begin now.